We are here today and we've been listening to Suzanne Keating of General Psychology Services. She's got a bit of an interesting business and some interesting problems. So if we just summarise the problems for Suzanne, she's looking for the answers to a few core issues that she has, getting buy-in from the GPs to refer work to placed psychologists, attracting the right kind of entrepreneurial psychologist who's looking to build a practice as well as practice, and then number 3, how to market for these placed psychologists to make sure that they've got a constant stream of referrals. Some interesting problems for you, doctors. Good luck. I'll leave you with it.
There's obviously a growing need for this service.
Yes.
It appears that it's not impacted by the economy. There is repeat consumption, fantastic business model. I mean, this is a really good opportunity for someone to commercialise psychology. This is a good business opportunity.
Yes.
So I am interested in what you guys have got to say, but the one thing that strikes me very clearly is that hiring entrepreneurial psychs is a barrier I wouldn't be overcoming. There's another way around that, but I'm interested in your thoughts on the problems.
What's happening here is that she doesn't have a practice. Suzanne doesn't have a practice herself. She will basically provide psychologists in these practices. So the revenue model will be the client will be paying a particular GP practice. That practice will take a cut as management services, and then Suzanne will receive that amount in which she'll take a cut, and the psychologists, I imagine, will be contractors to Suzanne.
Right, understand.
A problem with that is finding an entrepreneurial psychologist, because they're going to be contractors anyway, and then they have to, being a contractor, they have to get their own ABN, they have to look after their own personal accounts. It's attracting that person when they could easily go out and do it themselves. If they've got to do the business basics already, why wouldn't they be going out and just doing it themselves?
I was going to say the same thing.
Instead of giving another cut away.
I don't think we are necessarily looking for an entrepreneurial.
No, I think
we want someone who's sort of happy to be part of a team and
Yep.
not necessarily take all out a risk that an entrepreneur may.
And you need to eliminate that from this equation here, which can be done,
Yeah.
but just don't even think about having those types of people around.
No, because the model that is being presented is that the psychologist has the opportunity to sit inside an already well-established clinic with GPs, OTs, etc., that can refer business to them, with general psychology practices doing the marketing, taking care of the admin and all of that.
Driving the trust is a possibility, but it's a lot of work, and you've got all these egos in a clinic. So maybe there's another way to eliminate that. Why make this business so hard? You know, why is it you need entrepreneurial psychs and you have to drive doctors to refer? There are methods and there are business models that have got past this before, and I think that's something we can present to Suzanne.
Have you got an example of?
You know, the concept is called strategic aggregation, and ultimately when you do that you use a concierge is a word that's used. You use a central person who drives everything in the business in terms of the marketing, the referral process, and there's no expectation of the actual practitioner to have to change, because they don't. And people who have become extremely successful have understood strategic aggregations.
I'd like to learn more too about the marketing and the sort of budget and how that budget's fed. Is it fed by the individual psychologist in each of these practices? Is it a central fund? So once we learn a bit more about that, we can maybe get some advice on marketing.
Yeah.
And we probably need to make sure that the referral arrangements, the agreements, are actually quite strong, so that and the processes need to be followed around that very carefully, because ultimately the client relationship, client retention, who owns the client in terms of if somebody leaves the practice, who's still got access to that information. So that needs to be very clearly mapped out.
Yeah.
I have heard Suzanne speak, and there's some fantastic stats out there, like 1 in 3 people going to a doctor. It's psychologically driven. Your number one marketing strategy has to be Suzanne speaking to centres of influence. I'd like to know what her list of centres of influence are and how many talks she's giving, because she would definitely drive people to a centre. So my philosophy is she's the number one marketer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Suzanne, meet the business doctors. Business doctors. So they've been listening to our problems when we were talking on the sofa, and they've had a chance to come up with some original ideas. But I'm going to leave you in their trusted hands, and hopefully they're going to come up with the solutions that you're looking for.
Sounds great.
And before we do that, I'm just going to ask a few questions. My question is, what's your vision? What do you truly want to be doing?
So my vision is that I will always have a portion of what I do as direct contact with clients. I'll always be engaged in providing therapy to clients. But I would like to maybe reduce down that and build up to the side of my business, which would be supporting other psychologists to grow their business in a setting of a clinic of some sort.
Problem number one, internal referrals. Have you overcome that problem before?
The clinic that we spoke with, that you heard Diana speaking with, so that's a clinic that I practice in. So the internal referrals there are really, really good, and we have a really good collegial relationship going, and it's been really, really positive.
So cloning you
clinic.
is potentially a solution, but it's probably off the cards for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had hit and miss, that tells me what needs to occur. You need to refine that sales process.
I don't know what a refined sales process means.
So one, you need a salesperson to go through a sales process with you and step you through what would potentially work.
Okay.
And you trial it, test it, get it systemized, you role play it, whether it's going to be you or not.
And in that process, I think it's really important, you need an advocate as well. So somebody that you've dealt with, another GP who it's worked exceptionally well for. And if you can leverage off their contacts, their relationships, and then once you've then got an introduction to that business, ask that GP to come with you, because they've already perhaps got a relationship and they can actually help facilitate that introduction.
Your potential clients are listening to certain media.
Yes.
You need to know what media they're listening to. And you need to be talking publicly. And there are plenty of people who would love to have someone come on board who is very knowledgeable, very experienced to talk about issues. So that's not a hard thing to do. But you need to know your centres of media influence, and then you need to know your message that you're going to promote and the objective of that dialogue. Tell me, why do you do what you do? I'm just interested in why. Why are you a psych?
I'm thinking of many reasons why I shouldn't be a psych.
Other than money, what's the drive
money is
here?
not the thing.
What's the purpose
They're never
here?
going to get rich from there. It sounds really, really naff, but really being there supporting people and seeing changes, seeing the little changes that happen in people's lives that can actually make an improvement in them.
Right, okay, so you've got a mission out there. Don't you think people should know that you've got a mission to help them? So therefore, get in front of or get on the radio where people want someone who is driven to achieve and to support and help people.
Marketing, in my opinion, is an investment in your business. You know, no one likes spending it, and we all want a great result for it. But at the end of the day, you just have to say, okay, I want to build my business X amount, therefore I'm willing to invest X amount of money into it, and then you then do that research to find out what you think can work best for your business.
And it's important then to track where your customers are coming from, so to determine what campaigns are working. So how many are coming from referrals from within the clinic, how many are coming from websites, social media, radio campaigns, and then you can start to determine, well, what is working. It's important that you get an understanding of your finances, because if it's not profitable to yourself, there's no point in doing it. So it's vitally important that you're forecasting and you understand how many billable hours do I need to have for this to be viable.
I totally agree with Matt. You do need to do some financial modelling here. When you spoke about your why, it was about helping people. It was nothing to do with money. I know it comes back hand in hand, but fundamentally, you may be able to help more people with a different financial model.
So, Suzanne, how was that experience for you?
Wow, it was really good. It was really interesting. It was very parts of it quite overwhelming. Yeah, but overall really good experience.
Do you have takeaway things to do, to ask, to work on?
Yeah, I mean, I highlighted definitely areas that I need to kind of focus on. So, I mean, I don't have systems. A lot of it's just been doing ad hoc, and I really, really need to put that together, and I really need to formalise that and make more systems. And the whole idea that this is a sales process, and I need to formalise that, that was really, really helpful.
I think it's the same problems as most business owners, you know, is the lack of systems. It's all in the business owner's head.
Yeah.
If you had to say or choose one thing, what's your one takeaway thing that you can take away, you can work on now, or your biggest aha moment?
Okay.
What's that?
I actually have two. So can I
Okay.
say two? So one of them is that it's a sales process, and I need to systemise that, and I haven't been systemised, and I need to kind of refine that and keep trying. That's huge for me. And then the other one is that I need to know my centres of influence, and that is something that I've started to identify, and it's something that I've begun to work on. But just to clarify that for myself, I think that'll be really helpful.
But look, it's been really, really great to have you on the show. I wish you all the best and every luck for your future business endeavours. I'll hopefully catch up with you a little down the line and see how you go.
Brilliant.
So that's our wrap for this episode of Business Doctor. Join us again next week when we dissect one more Perth business.